Everything's coming up to Timberwolves. Yeah, in the zone. Simple dedication to the team when you're in the know. To Timberwolves. Yeah, in the soul. Lifting all the positivity for the Wolves to grow. So, where we going from here, man? We listen week to week to get the clearest to clear. Recaps, got that. South Cap, got that. Team ads, got that. So tell me what they do not have, huh? How dare you? Foolish question to ask, but I don't mean to go brag. But boy, they got all the stats, and they could go all the way back from KG to Zerbiak. And all I'm saying is that the cast a one-stop shop for my Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Ain't a thing falling, everything's coming up. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Falling from the autumn, ain't nobody gonna stop them. It's the Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Phonies, you can spot them, they the sheep under their clothes. Timberwolves. Timberwolves. Talk a lot about them, y'all don't really know. Let's go.
Welcome in to another Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. My name is Gabe Anderson, if you didn't know that from the intro, and I'm joined as always by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
Doing good. Got to win. I'm happy for us.
Absolutely. And we beat the Warriors, so it sounds really good. And it sounds good on paper, but we'll talk about it. Jonathan Kuminga looks good. That's a little spoiler for the rest of the episode. And Jared good. Jared, how we doing?
Well, I'm about as tired as I've been in the last 6 months, but I needed to be here for the people, so I'm here. I think we went 4-1 since our last podcast, so hey, that's a pretty good sign.
I think 4-2, 4-2, because I know we lost 2, yeah. Because we lost to the Pels, and then we lost to who's the other one we lost to? Memphis. Yeah, that's right. Well, it is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast, and so we're going to talk a little Timberwolves. So let's just get into it. First of all, Chris, what have you seen out of the Wolves the last since we talked last, the last 2 weeks or so?
We've seen a little bit of everything. We've seen some ups and downs, and even the losses, though, they're not that bad. Like we lost to Memphis, who is the hottest team in the NBA. We were ahead a lot of the game. We were in it a lot of the game, we had some plays that could have went either way that would have helped us. I'm not mad about that game. I think if we played that game 10 more times, we'd win 6 of them maybe. So, we're right there. The Grizzlies were a tough game, but the OKC game that we lost. That was the other one, right?
Wait, no, Pelicans.
That's what. Yeah. The tough thing about the Pelicans is in that game, our bench didn't show up. And the trouble is the Pelicans bench plays like our bench. They just hustle and they work hard. So we're used to outworking teams. And when we run into another team that works hard, that kind of doesn't, that advantage isn't there. So other than that, beaten down Golden State, I'll take that any day. Give me a W. So yeah, it's been up and down, but I think overall we're about where we think we are. We look like we're a solid to good team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And Jared, what have you seen out of the Wolves the last 2 weeks? I'd say week and a half or so.
Well, I'll say one thing. I'm happy that Noel's injury was a lot less serious than it looked originally.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
when I was watching that Pelicans game, and I had some people kind of ask me just some fantasy questions about Noel this week, and I said I would be surprised to see Noel play more than 15 minutes. That was talking yesterday. I think he played like 18, and he looked fine. But watching that in real time, it looked like he was pretty hurt. I know he got fouled and had to stay in and shoot free throws, went 1 for 2, and then kind of limped until I think the ball got turned over or something. But I'm happy that he is healthier than I originally thought, because I think he's a very, very key piece to this team currently. Just looking at the Wolves bench, Beasley can't throw it in an ocean right now, it seems like. Well, that's just my opinion. I know that he's going to chuck it, but lately it just seems like every time I watched the Pelicans game pretty much start to finish, and I actually watched the Pelicans broadcast, which was kind of funny because I was having some trouble with the Bally Sports app. So I watched the Pelicans broadcast, and they loved this little Alvarado kid. Man, it was actually kind of fun to watch, and he was actually pretty good little role player. So I kind of
I watched that same.
But no, the same broadcast. Yeah, it was. It was a frustrating game because I thought the Wolves played really well. The Pelicans just seemed like every time we started clawing into it, they would hit a big shot, and it's just one of those frustrating games because you look at the Pelicans on paper, those are games that we really can't be dishing away, but sometimes you just get beat, and that's what happened that night.
I think with the Pelicans, I think we're going to have an issue with them going forward because I think Brandon Ingram is just one of those guys that always plays well against the Wolves. It feels like there's always those guys, right? Like Damian Lillard always seems to have a field day against us, which won't be an issue going forward for us. Now, I actually some that I wanted to say a little different than what you were saying, Jared. I don't know. I like Malik Beasley coming off the bench for us. Am I saying that we shouldn't use him as a trade piece if something comes up? No, absolutely not. We should try to get better. But I just think he's going through a shooting slump. And like I said last night, he was very good. I mean, he was one of those
5 in a row.
Yeah, he hit 5 in a row. He was one of those spark plugs that basically put the game away from us. And let's talk about it a little bit. The bench performance last night was one of the best bench performances I've seen out of a Wolves team in the last, I would say, 5, 7, 8 years. Because, man, did they play? They basically played the entire end of third quarter and into the fourth quarter. Jared or Chris, go ahead.
What was great to see, and on probably every Timberwolves chat room, talking Twitter or whatever, you're gonna see we got to play Noel, take Beasley's minutes, this and that. People need to realize that they're two different players. Like that to me is almost like saying, we need to play, Vanderbilt over McDaniels. Like, no, they're two completely different players. Like Beasley is going to be just bombing threes, and that's all he does. He stretches the floor. He keeps the defense spread out. Everyone's out. They got it. They can't leave him. They can't. Like he had 5 in a row. He comes off screens, catches it, one step, putting up a 3. That's what he does. Noel doesn't have that in his bag anymore. He used to for some reason, but he doesn't seem to anymore. Noel's taking it to the rack. Like we've said on here before, Noel is more like Anthony Edwards. Like that's how he gets his game. He's gonna, dribble, put 3 or 4 moves on you, take you to the hole, try to get to the line. Like they're different players, and I think they can coexist together. And I think if we're gonna have an effective bench, they're both gonna have to play. And like last night, they both had 16, 17 each. That's how we'll win. I don't know that's probably unrealistic for them to put up those numbers each time, but Noel has had, like in the last 30 days, he's averaging 12.5 points a game. I mean, that's huge. Some of those were, big minutes, like 26, 28 minutes. I don't think he's going to be getting those long-term because guys were out, but we need his spark plug and we need Beasley to shoot. If we don't have both those guys, we're one and done in the playoffs.
Absolutely. And yes, I totally agree with you, Chris. So that's why I was seeing a lot of people posting like, oh, let's give Noel Beasley's minutes. And I'm saying, like, I don't think they're interchangeable. I think they like you said, they both play different roles. They're both in to do 2 different things. And so I think they both need to play. So I don't think
he's got J-Max minutes. That's who he took. He took the point guard J-Max minutes. Which is
fine. which is 100% fine. But yeah, and so and also if we are trying to pull off a trade with Malik Beasley, now's not the time to bench him, right? Like now's the time to show what he can do and showcase him. Like what if I don't know, the Indiana Pacers catch last night's game and he hits 5 straight threes and they're like, maybe we only need 1 first-round pick, because apparently that's the rumor that's going around that the Pacers, for Miles Turner, they want 2 first-round picks, which seems a little steep. We can get into that in a little bit. But, Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, we were talking about Beasley and Noel, and I agree with both of you. They both need to play. Well, first of all, I just don't think our bench is all that deep. But the Timberwolves in general, from top to bottom, are a very streaky team.
Yep.
I'm looking for Beasley to hit more from the 35 to 36 from 3% or 35 to 40% range from three. He seems to have stretches where he misses a lot, but I'm not saying that like we need to like bench him or anything. I just want to see him put the ball in the basket a little bit more, you know. But that's what the Timberwolves are. They're a very fast-paced, streaky team. And when we hit our shots, we can beat literally any single team in the league. And we've seen that when they do shoot well. It kind of sounds so cliche to say, and I've said it before, you know, but like if the Timberwolves make shots, like they are a team that has the star power, that has the ability to match up with any team in the entire league. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be playing Beasley. I just want to put the ball in the basket just a little bit more.
Right. More consistently.
Right, absolutely. And yes, I will say last night, particularly against the Warriors, was a little bit of an outlier game for Beasley. Like he started slow, and then all of a sudden, bam, 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 he's hitting shots. But let's talk about particularly since we had a game last night. How about, and just in general, D'Lo being more of a facilitator? Now he only finished with 7 points last night, and a lot of that was due to, I would probably say, the bench playing so well. But man, 12 assists. What was the stat? Like in his last 8 games, he's had 10 assists, like in 6 of them. So,
oh man, I had that stat written down to talk about. I love that you said it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Chris, why don't you go ahead and talk a little bit about?
Yeah, man. In the beginning of the year, we might have been on here, might have been on something. We're saying, what is your outlook? Like, what do you want to see from D'Lo? And I said I want to see him average about 16, 17 points, about 9 assists, and like 4 rebounds. Like I want the assists to be what he is. And that's what Finch said early in the year. He said he wants to see him more as a distributor, more as a playmaker. That's what we loved with him when he was scouting him in Houston, he said, for the draft. He has it in his bag. And like you said, in the last 8 games, he has 6 games of over 10 assists. And, there's a 14 mixed in there. There's a couple 12s mixed in there. And before that, the whole rest of the season, he only has 2 games over 10 assists. So this is a new thing that he's doing. And it's not that he hasn't been able to, but I think he's finally finding his role. And it's like some people find their role like differently. Like Vando's found his role, right? But that's because he was kind of not very good before that. Now he's finding where he can be good. D'Lo can be good in other areas. D'Lo can give you 25 a game, probably the whole season. But that doesn't always mean that's better for the team's total outlook. So I love what he's doing, man. I love everything about what D'Lo's doing. And the most important thing is these assists aren't just like, they're not just dummy assists. Like you swing it to a guy and he hits a 3. The way that they're using Vando in the pick and roll now with Vando as a roll guy has changed our entire offense. And it's just spoon feeding Vando easy dunks. Like he's got to be shooting 80% in the last 5 games. And most of them are just big fucking 2-hand power dunks off easy passes.
Yeah. And that's the way we need to get Jared Vanderbilt the ball, not in the way where they were, like we were saying in past podcasts, where they're like chucking it down to him or off balance passes one-handed. That's easy bounce passes to Vando. He can corral those in and
credit him for catching them. Like it sounds super like juvenile to say that, but credit Vando for catching these passes, because even these were ones that he was not catching for like most of the season.
Absolutely. And actually, go ahead, Jared. Go ahead.
Well, it's funny. I had a couple points here, but if Jared Vanderbilt was a wide receiver in Madden, what do you think his catching would be? But it would be below 50.
Oh, for sure.
Because I know for sure that Gabe's gonna say, "Man, you got to turn the sliders down on his catching."
Catching traffic would be like 10.
I'm gonna, whatever Troy Williamson's numbers were in like Madden 2004. That's the numbers for Vando.
But just circling back to D'Lo and his passing, it's funny because it goes like kind of unnoticed. Like, yeah, he was 2 for 9, and people get on D'Lo in close games when he shoots kind of poorly and we end up losing. But boy, when he's got 12 assists and we score 119 points, it kind of sounds like a dummy answer to say. But you kind of just say, oh yeah, he's 2 for 9, but we won by 30, or well, we won by 20.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's people throwing D'Lo under the bus in I think our last loss, and he had like, I don't know, like 18 points and like 14 assists, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, what do you want from this guy? You know, like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, and also it makes it a lot better because when he's not hitting his shots, he can still be a factor out on the court because, like I said, D'Lo can go off at any time. Like we've seen it. Like I always harken back to that Philadelphia game. That was, and I hate to be negative, but that's probably the best we're gonna ever see D'Lo because he was amazing against Philadelphia.
He said the same thing. I think in an interview he said the same thing. He's like, I haven't felt it like that, I think, ever.
Right.
And he's put up 50 against us.
Right. Oh, I remember that. That was with the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, if he can be out there, and I think he's playing better defense too. Like he's getting after the ball sometimes. He's giving up his body, sending some charges,
rotating to the corner to get to challenge those 3-pointers a lot. No, he's earning his money this year.
And also, does it not feel like that? Like all three start now. It's a little different for Anthony Edwards because it's only his second year in the league. But does it not feel like every single Wolves? I feel like the entire team is having the funnest year of their entire career. Like it's just the camaraderie on the bench, the post game analysis. I feel like this has got to be Cat's favorite year of its entire life, and I feel like that for D'Lo as well. But go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, talking about Anthony Edwards, and one thing that I just wanted to bring up that I've noticed recently is he seems to be starting games extremely slow, like having 0 points at the end of the first quarter, multiple games in a row. Don't quote me that to be 100% accurate, but I know that he's been extremely slow these past couple games, and then it seems like his third quarter is where he kind of either breaks out or he just doesn't have a good game. I'd be interested in like trying to we've talked about this earlier about getting guys like D'Lo and Edwards going early because we know what Cat's going to bring. Cat's going to bring you 20 and 10 every single night. Doesn't matter who we're playing. Like, I feel don't need to like establish him early, but for us being such a streaky team that we are, I would love to see like the first couple of shots of the game, of every game, whether it be like the first 3. I mean, it doesn't have to be like every possession, but I would love to see D'Lo shoot the ball at least once and then maybe Edwards twice because Edwards seems to start slow a lot of these games recently, which is kind of hard to knock on him because he's such a good player. But like, I feel like we need to establish those two guys early because we know Cat's going to be Cat.
Mm-hmm. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, that's a good point. One thing that I loved about Kevin, and I'm one of the biggest criticizers of Kevin Love throughout his Timberwolves career, but one thing I loved about him early in his career was kind of exactly what you're talking about, Cat, is he would give you 20 and 10, and he wasn't like a focal point at that point. It was just, getting little offensive rebounds. The ball swings to him, he hits a jumper. Like, it was all organic in the flow of it. Nothing had to be forced. Nothing was really was pushed his direction, and he just put up those numbers. And I think it's super valuable to have a guy like that can put up those numbers without having to be a focal point. When talking about Ant, he had that game where he blew up in the second half, and everybody loved it. And he hit like all those threes in the fourth quarter to bring us close, and we lost. And people forgot about the fact that the whole first half, I think he had 3 or like 6 points. And he mentioned it in his post game, it's beautiful how real he is in his post game. He basically said, I was terrible for most of the game. Like I was no good. I got hot at the end, but like I need to be better early. And there's a real tight line between forcing it, letting the game come to you, and and being aggressive. And he just hasn't had it figured out yet. But it's also with D'Lo. D'Lo needs to find that line between facilitator and offensive juggernaut. And he's right there. He can do either. So we're still figuring it out. It's fun to watch. It's fun to watch him figure it out, though. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. So let's go to the chat. We got a question from Chris Armstead. So he says, I feel like Chris Finch's coaching efforts have been overlooked. How would you guys rate him so far? And whoever wants to go first can go ahead. Why don't we go ahead, Jared? How would you rate Chris Finch so far this season?
I would say at least 8.5 out of 10, if not a 9. The way he runs this team, and he runs this team to play how we should play. We should play fast. We should shoot a lot of threes. That's how this team should be ran. The defense has gotten a lot better, in my opinion. I know Chris will probably agree with me on that as well. But not only that, we know who we are at this point. We've played 43 games. If we make shots, we're going to beat everybody. And if we don't, we're going to lose to literally anybody. We could lose tomorrow to the Magic if we don't hit our shots. That's just what this team is.
I've seen them lose to the Magic this year. I was there.
That's just how this team is. And it sounds so cliche to say, but literally, if this team puts the ball in the basket, they can beat any and everybody. And if they don't, they can also lose to anybody and everybody, because that's what they do. They like the Rockets did back when Harden was there. They play fast and they shoot a ton. And if they hit them, they ain't losing. I'll tell you that much right now. I just want to reiterate back to something. Alex sent me a message on Facebook, so thanks, Alex. Anthony Edwards this season has averaged 6.3 points per game, 1 rebound, and almost a full assist in the first quarter through 37 games from StatMuse. So it does kind of work out to be
it's 24 a game. That's not bad.
Yeah. No, it just he started slow.
Recently he has. He's just a streaky guy. I mean, he's just a flamethrower, or he's just not there. But either way. But back to Finch. So I think it was last year they did a poll with coaches about which coach has the best plays, calls the best plays, runs the best offense. And Chris Finch had got third in the votes or fourth in the votes. He was definitely in the running, and a guy that is respected throughout the league for his offensive play calling and offensive ability. But this year, what he's done with the defense is amazing. And people forget that we lost our defensive coordinator that we had all set up a week before the season started, or 2 weeks before. And we brought in, I forget who it is, some big man that I remember might have been in the Jordan draft or something. And they asked him about the defense and what he plans to do. And he said, I'm here to run what Chris Finch has planned. I'm just here to run the system. So this system isn't some defensive coordinator's dream that he figured out. This is Chris Finch's defense. And we've went from 25th in the league historically, probably over the last 15 years, to there's not a metric you can find that has us out of the top 10. And it started out looking like maybe it's a fluke, but man, with our athletes, we're leading the league in turnovers created. We're playing the way we need to play. Like you said, on offense, we're playing the way we need to. And what's great is to have a guy like D'Lo, who early in the year, I think he was quoted talking about when they talked about the GM being fired. He basically was like, listen, I've been in the league a long time. I've played for a lot of coaches. I've played for a lot of GMs. I'm just here to play ball. And it seemed like he was almost saying he doesn't care about the coaches. But now you see him just praising Chris Finch. And you see all the guys talk to him about Finchy this, Finchy that. Seems like this bond, but yet he doesn't seem like this player's coach that's giving him cupcake meetings. He'll throw somebody under the bus in every post game, and it's not because he's being a jerk. It's because he's being honest. I think there's a real respect for him, and I think he's one of the guys that if we keep him, 10, 15 years, he's gonna really turn heads and being coach of the year type material.
Wow, 10, 15 years. Wow.
Why not?
Yeah, I think all systems go on that. I mean, as long as things work out, I'm all for it. But I think, and I heard them talking about this, I think during a broadcast of a game, Chris Finch seems like a guy that doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low, right? Like he's kind of even keel. And I think that's perfect for the team that we have now. I think it almost kind of keeps them grounded because you see Timberwolves after wins, they're like celebrating on the sideline and being like super hype and stuff like that. I think we need a guy who's like, okay, let's settle down. Basically the guy that can tell them like, you haven't done anything yet, right? Like you may have beat Golden State, you may have won this game or that game, but you still need. There's still more work to be done. And that's what I like about Chris Finch. Go ahead.
He hasn't even hit his 1 year anniversary on the team. That's what we got to realize. Like this guy's like they said all offseason, all they did was set up defense. So like he hasn't even really installed his offense fully. Like this is all just playing off, 1 year and kind of a weird offseason. So
right.
There's greater things to come. This isn't a final product.
Also, and I just want to harken back to this. Remember how this all started where everyone was mad at us that we hired him so quick? Like
that was silly.
That seems like years ago, but like
it's funny you're not hearing any of those people now.
Right, exactly. Like I don't know. Like they turned it into like a race thing. Like
there was people that were mad that God, I can't think of his name off the top of my head now. I believe he was the offensive defensive coordinator or something.
Vanderpool.
He was Vanderpool. Yeah. That's who people were mad that we didn't go after.
Right.
I don't even know where he is. He still. I don't even know where he's at right now.
I think he's an assistant coach somewhere. That's the thing. Like it's not like he was a number one target and teams were dying to grab him either.
Right.
Yeah. No. I just want to.
Go ahead.
I just want to reiterate back to something that we've mentioned a few times on this podcast when talking about Chris Finch. He was the guy that unlocked Jokic. He was the guy that was a big coaching back when Boogie Cousins and AD were dominating with New Orleans. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because those are three big men that have basically not been completely unlocked by Finch, but have definitely had a push by Finch to be unlocked to what their games are today. Now, when looking at the trade deadline, when we mention guys like Miles Turner and Chris Boucher and Marvin Bagley, these are all big men that we're looking to get our hands on, and we have a coach that knows how to work with these big men and kind of unlock some hidden talent. And I think that that's a big thing when looking at the trade deadline. Like Miles Turner is a great player, but he's still young. Like I still feel like he can be unlocked to be more. And same thing with the other two guys, both with some youth. If we get our hands on any one of those three players, I think that would be a big move going forward, not only because I like the players and I like their games and I like that we have a necessity for all three of them, but I also think that Chris Finch and the way he coaches basketball and kind of unlocks these big men could be a big thing moving forward for us if we get our hands on one of those three players.
Right. Go ahead.
Mo Bamba. That's my guy now. I'm almost off the Turner bandwagon right now because if it's getting to be a point where it's 2 first-round picks and salary match for Turner, that's getting a little steep for me. That might just be what they're saying to try to drive the price up. But the Magic came out and they said 1 first round is what they're looking at for Bamba. What's Bamba, like 22 years old right now? The dude's been hurt a lot. I get that, but let's not pretend like Turner's, Cal Ripken Jr. either. So if Bamba, dude's averaging like 2 blocks a game, a steal, decent rebound, like 8-9 rebounds, like he's kind of like the exact same thing as Turner, but yet he's not the guy that's saying, I want a bigger role. So I think I would way rather kind of go with Bamba right now at a value than Turner, to be honest with you. But I mean, I'll take either one of them. But you give me, dude, I'll take Mo Bamba. That guy's a monster.
Plus, I mean, we get to hear the song at every game then, right? And every time he scores.
What song?
Oh, have you not heard the song Mo Bamba? Okay. No, that's okay. No,
a whole song about him.
Yeah,
Good
well,
for
it's not really about him. It's not a great song, but like it popped off in like 2018.
If you have a song about you, or even with your name in it, good for him. I'm all
Right.
about it.
Yeah, Mo Bamba's got one. Tyler Hero's got one.
Good for those kids.
We could get Troy Hudson on the tracks, and we could have the whole team in the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to think of other NBA players. Well, of course,
I know Ricky Rubio's got one. Ricky Rubio's got one by some real kind of underground, like dirty, grimy rapper that is one of my favorite songs, and it's good. Look it up. I think his name is like, I don't know, like you'll see it when you see it. Dude's got no shirt on. He's about 350, sloppy as heck. It's a chart topper.
Of course, Allen Iverson's got one that's got the White Iverson by
by Post Malone.
Yeah. By the way, since I saw this in the chat, I want to clear this up right now. Yes, Wild Card Weekend is a fancy term for the first round of the NFL playoffs. So just so you know, Chris,
that's our Australian listener. We gotta fill him in every once in a while.
Right. Yes. So yes, it is the first round of the playoffs, which honestly, I know it's the wrong podcast, but it's been pretty boring so far.
Yes. There was one good game that was ruined by the ref falling over the football.
See, I don't know. Just quick tangent. I think Dak has got to like be more assertive and like try to get the ref the ball in that situation. But anyway.
My point on football, I'm going to make a quick point on football. Remember about 15 years ago, everyone's like, baseball, God, it's so slow and boring. Like nobody's watching baseball. The youth, it's killing the youth. That's football to me now. Now football is yesterday's baseball. Like I ain't got time for it. I don't have 3 hours to watch 20 minutes of action.
Right.
Like that's not for me.
And that's the thing about basketball. It's the most concise sport because, I mean, you take out halftime, it's pretty much 2 hours of action, right? Yep. So it'll go 2 hours and then maybe 15 minutes. If it goes into overtime doesn't count, but like, man, it's just
football is literally 20 minutes. They've done it before. There's 20 minutes of actual things happening in a football game. Everything else is guys walking back to the huddle, guys standing, guys walk. Like it's 20 minutes of things happening.
Right.
I
agree.
Since we're on random rants about sports, this is gonna rub people the wrong way, but this is why I can't watch hockey. You play one period, you have a break for 20 minutes. You play another period, you have another break for 20 minutes. I'm like, dude, I could sneak in 2 naps before you guys start playing again. I love playoff hockey, and being from Minnesota, it's not a hot take, but like, so I just can't do regular season hockey, and it has nothing to do with me absolutely loving basketball. I mean, maybe it does a little bit, but like, man, you give me 2 20-minute breaks, I'm falling asleep, man.
Right, and I agree. So a little bit about my background, which the guys know, but in case you don't, I've worked in like radio in the past and stuff like that. So I've like produced hockey games. Man, are they long? Just because of what you said, the 2 breaks. like I do a high school basketball game. Like the first half, 40 minutes, then there's a break, another 40 minutes, you're out. Hockey, it's like, oh man, 30 minutes, and then there's like a 15-minute break, and then there's another 30 to 20 minutes, and then another 15-minute break, and then another one. Oh, it just takes forever. I don't know. Which is why we're not the Everything is Coming Up Wild podcast. Who lost today? But man, that's the one thing I do wish. I wish. Now I know there were games on, but I wish we had some Wolves Martin Luther King Day action today. I really do, because I would have been all over that.
In 2 more seasons, when we're a consistent top 5 seed, we'll be there.
I woke up today and there's NBA on it. I think at 11:30. I was like, oh man, this is great, because as a guy that with the kids, I'm like, oh yeah, basketball score. You know, I watched Illinois and Purdue, which was a phenomenal game. I love daytime
That was a good
sports.
game. Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, that was a good game. That was. Man, I don't know. Purdue looks good. They could do it.
Don't they have a guy that's like 7'5"?
Yes.
Yeah, and he used to be a hockey player. He started out playing Eddie or Ed. It starts with E.
Edie.
Yeah.
Isn't he Asian?
No. He is.
He looked like he was Asian, but he's probably Russian or something.
Here, I'm looking him up. Edie. Zach Edie.
Is that guy is he going to be an NBA prospect or is he too slow?
Yeah, I bet he'll be like a second round draft. Interesting note on him. He's only been playing basketball for 2 years, which I thought was incredible. Kind of like the Tim Duncan thing when he went to Wake Forest. Like didn't play basketball until he was like, I think like a sophomore in high school or something crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's so I'm looking at it. He's 7'4". 7'4". So
I love those freaks.
Sure, and he's from Latvia. So so I'm sure he'll get some looks. Like I'm sure
I'd sign him. I love freaks. You give me any of them freaks, I'll take all of them. I mean, Manute Bol's my favorite, like probably top 3 favorite basketball player of all time. I loved Mark Eaton.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I loved all those freaks, man. Give me all of them.
Was Manute Bol ever on the same team as
George Mearson?
No. I'm trying to. Who was that really small guy? Earl
Muggsy Bogues. Yes, they were.
Oh, they were? Okay.
Yeah, and there's a poster of it, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Yeah, Yao Ming, he's a cool freak too, but he wasn't as freaky because he was like normal size looking. Like I want the guys that look like they were like stretched.
Like their neck is like 8 sizes too big for their body.
Just all wrong. I like those guys. Sean Bradley, rest in peace. All those guys.
Oh yeah. That was awful. What happened to Sean Bradley? Yeah.
Oban, yeah, all those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I want to make sure we talk about, and it's kind of the title of this episode, doesn't it feel like it's time for the Wolves to kind of make a run and get out of this like 5? Now maybe we're a 500 team, but I feel like it's time to make a run. Is it not, Chris? I don't know. It feels like it.
I think we can. I was looking at the stretch going forward, and I mean, all of February, I would say every single game but 1 or 2 or 3 of them are fully winnable. I mean, there's going to be some that we're going to have to play good, but I think we can go. I think we can go on a run here where we're like 15-5. Like, I don't think there's a reason that we can't go like 15-5 going forward. I mean, will it happen? Probably not, but I think we can. I mean, I think we can do it. And it's time for this team to put up or shut up. Are we this team? Are we going to be what we are? And I think we can do it. I think we can push to be, because this is the time of the year that the standings are still so tight. And I think stuff can get stretched out, and I think we can do it.
Mm-hmm. Jared, go ahead. I'm just showing the schedule on the side, but Jared,
because we got like Trailblazers, we got Nuggets, we got teams that we thought that you would think are normally good, but they're not that good anymore. Pistons, right. Kings, Pacers. Pacers are hurt. Kings are right. Bulls, yeah, Bulls will be tough.
Bulls will be tough, but they're vulnerable right now. They're not playing well.
I'm pretty positive Levine just got hurt. I'm not sure how serious it was. I don't know if he played today.
They said the MRI is fine, but he's going to be a couple weeks.
So, you know what I'm going to talk about, because I was the guy that was all about that 5 seed, and I still am. And
everyone called you crazy.
We are 3 games behind the Mavericks right now, looking at that 5 seed. Do I think we can go higher than that? Absolutely not. The Grizzlies are the 4 seed at 31-15. Like the 5 seed is the peak. Like that is as high as we can go. Do I think we can get ahead of the Nuggets and the Mavericks? I mean, absolutely, I do. I think, like, looking forward, like, how at the end of the show we always talk about like the week looking forward. How many games do you think we can win? And it's usually either 2 games, 3 games, sometimes it's 4. If it's 3 games, we need to go 2-3. If it's 4 games, we need to go 3-4. It's put up or shut up time. Are we good or are we pretending? Right now we sit at the 8 seed. I don't really want to be in those play-in games because, I mean, I know one wants to play us regardless of where we're sitting, but like I would rather have an actual spot in the playoffs, which means you need to be 6 or higher. Do I think this team can do it? Absolutely. I still believe that we can get to that range. I don't think the Mavericks are 3 games better than us. I think that we ran through COVID, we ran through injuries. We're healthy now, and we can win a lot of games.
I think so too. I mean, there's no reason. We've proven that this defense is consistent. This isn't a flash in the pan defense. We are a top 10 defensive team. We do force people to turn the ball over. What we have to fix is our half court offense, which, I don't know exactly, that's going to be the guys working together. I think part of the pick and roll with Vando is going to really help that. But I think I saw we were 26th in the league in half court offense. Like we can't have that when you have 4 guys that have been 20-point scorers or could be 20-point scorers that are still in their prime. Like sometimes you'll have that stat and you've got guys like Carmelo Anthony and Dwight Howard on your team. Like those guys don't count, but we've got guys that are legit, not even in their prime yet, that have been 20-point scorers, 4 of them on this team. We need to be playing better, and half court is the way to do it. And if we can turn that around a little bit, I think there's no reason why we can't be a 6-5 seed.
So Chris, quick question for you. What do you think the Wolves need to do, like, to turn around their half court offense? Like what are some steps forward?
I think Cat needs to learn so I think Karl Anthony Towns has trouble. I think he's immature. I think Karl Anthony Towns is one of those guys that matures maybe a little bit later than others in the league. I think that he needs to realize that where his limitations are. Passing out of double teams, he's literally the worst in the NBA, and it's not close. He's something like, I've got the stat, but it's something like 40% of the time he's double teamed, he commits a turnover. It's ungodly. And like the third place guy is like 20%. So he's like double as bad as the guy just 2 below him. So we have to figure that out. I think we have to cut. Like hopefully getting these passes to Vando was huge, but like we've got guys like McDaniels that literally is worth 0 on offense. He's worth nothing, and he'll just stand there. Cut, for God's sakes! Like the way that D'Lo's passing the ball now. Cut, make a move. Like you're shooting 20% from 3. So standing at the 3-point line looking for a spot up isn't really doing much for us. Like we need guys to be moving. We need more action. I think what we need is the All-Star break, and I think we need Finch to, maybe change something up a little bit, tweak something here and there, and get guys going.
Jared, go ahead.
One thing that we talked about last year, well, myself specifically, but I know that you guys kind of noticed it as well, is we were running that it was almost like a triangle look with our 3 stars. You'd have a high pick and roll with D'Lo and Cat, and then you would have Edwards like coming across or even like diving towards the hoop. And I loved seeing that last year because the play art was so like smooth and made so much sense, because like even when we had those kind of situations, like we also had a 3-point shooter in the corner. It seemed like for the most of the time, and we probably still do. We just kind of got to, trust them to make it when it's there. But I feel like I have seen a lot less of that this year, and I kind of want to see that again. That triangle at the top. You get D'Lo and Cat to do the high pick and roll. If you kick it to Cat, whatever, and if D'Lo goes hard, whatever. But then you have Ant coming in hard, and this could be a great way to set up Ant and D'Lo in the first quarter too, because you have 2 out of the 3 start. I can't say this enough. We know what Cat's going to do. We need to establish D'Lo. We need to establish Ant early.
How about Cat on the wing at the 3-point line and run a pick and roll with Edwards and D'Lo? Let Edwards put that bulk on D'Lo's guy and let Edwards dive to the hoop. Who wants that? Like nobody wants to get in the way of that.
I think we need to go back to that triangle action.
So, Coach Finch, if you're listening, make it happen.
I'll text him.
Yeah. What if you got his number somehow and you actually did, and then you watch tomorrow's game and then they're just running the triangle with dashing into the lane and stuff like that? Like, what if? That would be amazing.
I know they got Wi-Fi on these planes, and They're traveling today, so Fancy Plains, they got free Wi-Fi up there. I'll tell you that much.
There's no reason. There's no reason that they're not watching this podcast.
Right. I would, yeah. I mean, we're praising D'Lo today. By the way, one thing that I do want to say about D'Lo going back, I was looking at the stats. He's 11th in the league in assists. So, and that's with only like not assisting too much at the beginning of the season.
Like I said, he had 2 times over 10 assists all year up until like this 8-game stretch where he's had it 6 times. Take that out. The whole rest of the year he's had twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is that's change.
And guys right next to him are like Drew Holiday and like John Morant. So if that says anything, I think that speaks. No, I'm not saying that D'Lo's John Morant, but still, I mean, that's where he's ahead of him in assists. So if that says anything. So I think let's take a look at what we got coming up this week. So we got the Knicks tomorrow. Should be an interesting game. We got the Hawks. Got the Hawks the next day. Nets with Sands, Durant, and then the Trailblazers on Tuesday. So what are we looking for out of the Wolves this week? Start with you, Chris.
Are the Nets the Nets is away game, right?
Let me check. I believe no. Let me see. Where I have a bunch of tabs open.
We're at home. Yeah,
we're at T Center.
So that means Kyrie's playing.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Let's win them all.
Absolutely. I don't see why not.
Let's win them all. I mean, I think the Nets would be tough, but I don't think. I mean, Durant? I hate the Kyrie Irving, James Harden like teammates. Like those 2 guys. Like, what are we gonna? One guy's gonna ISO, and then you're gonna have the other guy ISO. Like, okay, like that's fine. Like I'm not really. I mean, they're great, but I'm not too afraid of that. I think we can. I think we can win at least. We might lose 1, but I think we can win them all. Like we said, put up or shut up.
Right. Yeah, I think it's time. Jaron, anything to add on that? What are you looking for out of the Wolves this week?
So I've been kind of researching back games a lot recently, and I hate it because I think it's a poor excuse. I was watching, not to get off topic here, but I was watching Portland against Memphis, and I was like, oh yeah, Portland's going to win this game. And Portland was up by 20, and then they blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter and ended up losing that game. And everyone's like, oh yeah, it's because they're on a back. I'm like, it's a piss poor excuse. They're up by 20, but tired legs, you know, it's a real thing in the NBA. Anyways, my point is the Knicks are coming off a back-to-back. They just got boat raced by the Hornets today. I think they're traveling here too. That should be especially for a team that plays their starters so many minutes with Tibbs. I would be very surprised if we lost tomorrow. But then we are on a back-to-back, and I believe we fly to Atlanta, which is a team I don't like how we match up with. But like I said, it's put up or shut up. It's time to start winning. That game scares me a little bit. And then Brooklyn, like Chris said, there's basketballs in the entire universe for 2 guys to play iso ball without Kevin Durant. And I also believe recently they've been starting Devon Sharp at center. I mean, cat against that, whoever that cat is. I definitely think we should go 2-1 this week. How we get there, I don't care. But like I said, 2 out of 3 moving forward, 3 out of 4. That's the blueprint towards moving up in the standings.
That's a recipe for the 5 seed, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. Well, my expectation for the Wolves, like you said, just win some games, make it happen, go on a run, and let's see where we are next week. I think we're going to be in good standing. But this is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode. And as always, go Wolves.
Go Wolves.